Good afternoon everyone, so we're looking at another brand I haven't actually looked into. It's called the BiDen brand. You can get these on Amazon. They do a lot of sort of homage watches towards sort of Rolex, like Submariners, GMT model releases, etc, etc. So yeah, let's have a look at one of these ones. Bit of a unique style packaging for a watch. I haven't seen it in like an envelope before. Nice little adjusting tool just for doing our straps. I think I prefer the box method, but it's still a nice creative way of doing it. So here we go guys, this is the BiDen Smurf Homage Chronograph, 43mm with a 10mm diameter. Retails at £30, weighs 168 grams and uses a Japanese quartz movement. We can have a look at that in a minute. So let's have a look at the dial here. So the dial, we got a full sunray blue style dial there with a slightly offset colour of blue chronograph and 24-hour readout. Those three little dials there. Fully luminous hands and a fully luminous increments as well. Dashes inside the actual side part of the face, and a date dial just set within between the 4 and the 5 PM. So with this watch you get a 3 atmospheric water resistance with a mineral glass topping, so it's a little bit scratch proof, but don't rely on it too much to keep the scratches away. Overall it's quite a nice style watch, especially from those sort of regions. They do sort of cheaper style watches, but this one does feel sort of quite nice, but the quality will probably come down in the further parts. So let's have a look at the chronograph movements. These are the screw out ones. Yeah, so it's not a screw out style chronograph. I was just seeing if it was, but it's just a cheap style, quite a tough sort of button to push in. It's a bit harsh on the finger. It's not delicate or anything like that, but then it's a nice working chronograph there. Nice 24-hour readout here as well. Those hands, they look a little bit sort of straight like, almost like a midnight Sekonda. A nice luminous second hand here as well. That crown is just protected by a little bit of crown protection going around there. Fully luminous hands obviously go with the watch nicely, but it's a chrome finish on the buttons and chrome finish on the metal in terms of the casing. Consistent going all the way around the side. Got a cheap style clicker movement inside there. There's plenty of playback when you push it back the opposite way. It should just sort of secure in place when it's moving around. But then £30 only gets you sort of a certain amount when it comes to watches. For the same price, you can almost opt for a Sekonda. Really, you might not get sort of. Well, you might get starting for £30 with a Sekonda, but then it's you probably are guaranteed a bit of quality with it. So down the side here, we've got a 20mm style strap, oyster style of course, to follow the same sort of style that would be on a real Rolex Submariner, but it does feel very tinny, so you can actually hear that moving there, and it rattles a lot. Adjustable by little tiny pins rather than screws. Most oyster straps they would use screws. Coming down to the buckle. Let's take this bit of thing off. Got a safety buckle style push button deployment system to reveal a tri-fold cheaper inside component with a nice hinge in the middle here just to hold on to that clasp nicely. Sometimes these clasps they tend to fall out, but this buckle here does seem very cheap when it's folding over. It doesn't seem like it would be a safety buckle. It's very easy to sort of move that. It doesn't lock down in place properly. Let's have a look at that crown movement. I forgot to do that. Yeah, a very, very cheap movement on that crown. That is like, there's barely any movement there, and it's flicking that hand round a lot. Let's get that flat on my finger. There's a lot of movement there, and I'm barely even moving it. So you can hear it's tinny as well when you're moving it down. So obviously they've used a better movement, but then the actual crown piece that's holding it is not the best. It's a bit of a fiddle as well, trying to get that out to the. And that date dial is very cheap because it's spinning around quite quickly, and it feels cheap, but it's quite hard to get that out to that position. The position, basically, the difference between that normal position, first position, and second is that first position is very close to the normal position. So it's quite, and that's probably one of the worst sort of movements I've seen on a crown ever. But in terms of the actual watch design, it's really nice, and how it's presented, it looks nice, and there's decent weight to it, but then the quality falls down in terms of the individual components. Come around to the back plate. Got a full BiDen back plate there. Seems to be I think it's just a plain push-in crown. Got a nice marker on the back there in terms of what it is. I don't know if I mentioned, but 380 waterproof. And at least you get your sort of tool with it to adjust it if you needed to. So there we go. So that is the BiDen Smurf watch.